LA Knight fans, time for your weekly anal thermometer. Where you at? Come on over here, have a seat. You got another week, another dose of pain medication for you. October 27th, 2025, there was an episode of Raw so generic, so boring. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm forced to. So, we're going to talk about this episode of Raw. I'm going to try to get through it and not waste too much of y'all's time. I do want to start with this. There's a whole lot of speculation all morning because WWE started putting out vignettes of people walking. Just random shoes clopping upon the ground. Had everybody saying, oh, it's Gunther. He's coming back tonight. It's Santos Escobar. It's the LWO. They're coming back tonight. It's going to be some kind of big return. And then the bubble got bust a couple of hours before the show. And it was like, oh, it's just another WrestleMania thing. And whether that was true or not, we don't know. But what we do know is that there was no follow-up whatsoever on the show. So they had everybody listening to the background music and staring at people's shoes and had everybody all excited for no good reason. There was no good reason to get excited. That is shameful. It is shameful. Look, I'm all for the company doing whatever they need to do to get people interested in and engaged with the fan base. But teasing returns and special stuff and then not delivering on it is just pathetic. That should be beneath the WWE for them to do. That's like when they did the whole Tony Khan has a special announcement kind of thing. You know, that stuff should be beneath WWE. Especially if it's just WrestleMania related, because they've already announced WrestleMania in Las Vegas. So, I don't get it. So, I mean, I'm not tripping though. Promote WrestleMania by all means. Do what you can. Alright, let's talk about this show. Jey and CM Punk had a segment in the ring. Jey is upset everybody is in his ear, but he needs to focus on what he thinks about himself, and he's going to win the title Saturday night. I actually forgot that Saturday night's main event was this Saturday. I thought it was next week. Punk is happy for Jey, but he said he always believed in himself, so he doesn't really understand where Jey's coming from. And that's easy when you're winning, but not so easy when you're losing or you're about to lose. But he realizes that Jey has what it takes, but how far is he willing to go? And he says, you got yourself into a situation you can't yeet yourself out of. Can I yeet myself out of this show? I want to be able to yeet myself out of this show. The rest of the show was Jey and Jimmy having words at each other. Jimmy upset, alluding that he could beat Jey in a match, or he would have beat Jey in the Battle Royal. Jey just telling Jimmy, look, I got enough problems. I don't got time for this shit. And Jimmy kind of agreeing to that, which all seemed very dramatic, but in reality, it wasn't very dramatic at all. It was just a waste of time. But the idea that Jimmy didn't see Jey backstage, or he didn't call him on the phone or nothing, that they had to have this confrontation at Raw specifically, is very bizarre. That's one of the weird things about this whole family stuff. They could at least said, you know, Jey been dodging them. You ain't answering your phone. That's what they used to do back in the Bloodline days when they would have these issues. They'd be like, I can't get him on the phone. I drove by the house. He wasn't there. You know, like, as a way of excusing why family members can't find each other. Next. Intercontinental Championship #1 contenders match, Penta and Rusev, they were cooking. And then, of course, there was a disqualification. Los Americanos came out and attacked both of them. Of course, they fought both of them off. And then Adam Pearce made it a triple threat match because Dominic Mysterio thought he was being slick and that he had found some way of calling this match off. It didn't work. It never works. This is one of those Wile E. Coyote ideas that these heels come up with all the time. You know how Wile E. Coyote goes to Acme and he buys a bomb, he lights the wick, and then the wick, and when the wick will go down and then it won't blow up, and Roadrunner just run right past it, and then as soon as Wile E. Coyote walks up on it, it explodes. That's kind of how heels are perpetually with this. If I cause a disqualification, then neither one of the baby faces can fight me. And it blows up in his face every time. It's a Looney Tunes formula. It's ridiculous. So now it's a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship as Saturday night's main event. Look, Rusev and Penta did a really good job. They did a really good job. It was kicking out of each other's big moves too. Rusev kicked out of the Penta driver. Penta kicked out of the Mashka kick. So they were actually cooking, man, and they pissed everybody off with disqualification. Los Americanos, this a really bizarre thing because I don't care about those other two guys. That the original gimmick, the remix on the original gimmick is pretty good, I have to admit. And it's also weird because Los Americano, El Grande Americano and Dominic Mysterio, they're essentially baby faces in Mexico. AAA put out their Heroes Inmortales show. I think, the first half of the show. I think the second half of the show is going to be next week or something like that. But it featured Dragon Lee versus Dominic Mysterio. And that was one of their best matches. I mean, they've wrestled a whole lot, and they probably wrestled too much. But that was a hell of a match between the two of them, with Dominic winning with a little bit of help, but he won. And when you see Dominic on Monday Night Raw, he's back with Judgment Day, and it's just so weird. Like, Dominic Mysterio is main eventing pay-per-views and house shows in the U.S., Europe, and Mexico without his father and without Judgment Day. He does not need these people. Why is he still hanging around with these people? He does not need them. He's off to a good start as being a solid act on his own. Dominic can go to Mexico by himself and kill it. You don't need Finn Balor and JD McDonough holding his hand. You don't need to continue that storyline at all. We can just end it. It was a decent show though. But that Dominic versus Dragon Lee thing was pretty good. El Grande Americano is beloved by the audience. He actually came to the show and put El Hijo del Vikingo in his place. So I mean, it seemed like Dominic and El Grande Americano are actually baby faces in Mexico, even though that's not true. They're kind of heels that the fans like, while the other guys are baby faces that the fans don't like, which is a contradiction in terms, of course. Now, Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker once again just said, hey, we should just beat up everybody last week. Why didn't we do that? And Paul said, well, that would have made Adam Pearce mad and, would have made getting the world title more difficult. So now we just got to wait until they figure out who the world champion is, and then we got to attack that guy. Keep the path clear. And then Paul Heyman said he got Bron Breakker a match with LA Knight. LA Knight had a promo before this where he just talked about doing things the hard way, how he got next. And then, of course, he loses to Bron Breakker clean in the middle of the ring. I ain't mad at it. I loves me some Bron Breakker. Just seemed like an odd thing to do. When LA Knight came out, he came out into the arena, big reaction. He grabs a sign out of the crowd that says, "We want LA Knight, not Jey." And people have been talking about this for all week, actually, that the Battle Royal, the face-off, all of these things have been ratioed on YouTube. 16,000, 30,000 dislikes. An absurd number of people hating Jey Uso. Extremely mad. They want LA Knight. They're pushing for LA Knight. And I'm not sure how much this matters. I'm not sure how much it matters. Look, we say all the time that social media is not real life. You got to actually care. Like, I haven't looked at that clip since it aired, actually. So you have to actually care to go to the YouTube account of WWE and downvote the face-off between Jey Uso and CM Punk, and downvote the Battle Royal and everything. You gotta care more. It's like the old Raven thing. You know, how much investment is it to go that far? I don't have that kind of investment. I think most people don't. But there are people who are motivated and incentivized to go find the clip and download it. And that kind of tells you that there's an intense dislike for Jey Uso. But then you see he comes out and there's people yeeting all over the place, and apparently he's still selling a ton of merchandise. But so you start asking the question, how bad is it really? Even if it's 16,000 people who hated it, is it hurting ticket sales? I don't know. They were allegedly sold out here in Anaheim. So there might be a growing or a pretty stubborn contingent, which I know there is, of people who want to see LA Knight, not Jey Uso. People who are preferring LA Knight to Jey Uso. But you're not loud enough. You don't buy enough merch. You don't buy enough gimmicks. You need to buy some shades, a t-shirt or something, because he ain't moving. He ain't moving a muscle. But it's crazy that, again, he cut a promo earlier about how he's going to win the world title. He's got next after the, it doesn't matter who wins, Jey or Punk. He's going to be the guy. And then he loses clean to Bron Breakker. Man, that was nuts. And you know what? I'm not mad because it's Bron Breakker, so we all good. Jesus Christ. Of course, we didn't get a satisfactory answer to why Bron and Bronson couldn't just beat up both guys. I mean, Adam Pearce was already mad at them. He was already mad at them enough to take them out of the Battle Royal. They might suspend us, sir, if I have another volley. How do you know that? All right. Goldberg said some girl beat his undefeated streak. That was, people chatterboxed about that all week. So WWE decided to put out a 10-year Asuka vignette, which the timing of this is crazy, right? It's got to be in response to what Goldberg put out there. Asuka's responses to Goldberg as well were interesting. I'm not going to read them. I was planning to, but then I said, you know what? Never mind. Basically, the long and the short of it is that she is not, thinking too much about championships or those kinds of things, that she came to the United States for a particular reason. She said she wants to turn wrestling into a women's wrestling, specifically into a before Asuka and after Asuka. So like she's been pretty consistent with this. She has this crazy ambition that she really hated the way women's wrestling was done in Japan, and she wants to revolutionize it. And that's kind of been her motivation for over 10 years. Like when she wrote that crazy manifesto that got her pretty much blackballed in Japan. She's been pretty consistent with this. Yes, some of it is kind of she's gotten to, but she should be gotten to. This is not the first time Goldberg has mentioned this, but WWE putting it up was pretty funny. Putting up the 914-day streak and won the first Women's Royal Rumble, all that stuff. But Asuka was upset all night because Lyra Valkyria and Bayley were getting a tag team title shot, even though the Kabuki Warriors actually called next. And it wasn't Lyra's fault, it was Bayley's fault. And Lyra said she had nothing to do with it when she was confronted by Asuka, which is a great way to treat your tag team partner. Instead of just standing up and being like, fuck you, she was like, it was Bayley. It was Bayley's fault. I'm like, okay, whatever. Anyway, Bayley was mad. Asuka was mad. Bayley wasn't. Bayley believed in them, but Lyra was nervous. She'd never wrestled Charlotte or Alexa Bliss before, which is, you're a professional. Come on. Bailey was like, but what if we lose? And there was kind of like this pregnant pause. And like, okay, something bad's going to happen if we lose. I was like, okay, maybe so. So then Asuka went over and she got into Charlotte's face. And she let Charlotte know that it should be them in the tag team championship match. And Charlotte had to throw the dig in there. She's beaten Asuka all these many times and all this stuff. I was like, yeah, we didn't really need to be reminded of any of that, did we? Well, it doesn't hurt. I don't think Asuka's kind of bulletproof, so it doesn't really matter. But kind of felt like Charlotte is kind of like big leaguing again, which she tends to do. She tends to do that quite a bit. The main event of the evening, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley versus Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss for the women's tag team championships. A very good match. I don't think it should have been the main event. At the same time, though, when you look at the rest of this card, you really didn't have an option but to put this on at the main event. So it was a hell of a match, and I really liked it in terms of a women's tag team championship match. Bayley saved Lyra Valkyria from Sister Abigail, even though I think that's a DDT and not a cutter like it was supposed to be. And meanwhile, Charlotte saved Alexa Bliss from Nightwing. And they did this spot, and I'm kind of sick of this. I don't know why people keep doing this, where Bayley was in a figure eight, and she was about to submit, and then Lyra Valkyria jumped in the ring and grabbed her hand to stop her from tapping out. This started with DIY in WWE. I think it probably happened on the Indies too, but in WWE, DIY started doing it, and FTR, and it's the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Your partner is still in the submission hold. You grabbing their arm and preventing them from tapping out only prevents you from losing. It doesn't actually save your partner. Because you're still holding their arm as they're still in pain, motherfucker. What the psychology should be to stop the hold. So Lyra is holding Bayley's arm. Bayley is trying to tap out. Charlotte is doing her thing. She's wrenching on the figure eight. And they sit in this position so that Alexa Bliss can do the Twisted Bliss on top of Lyra Valkyria. And then they all fall down. They all fall down. The finish comes with Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair both using a version of natural selection. Bayley gets pinned, so she's the one who lost the match. You would expect that a heel turn was coming after Bayley lost, but no, the Kabuki Warriors attacked instead, attacking Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. They didn't attack Bayley, they actually left. And Bayley actually did care for Lyra Valkyria. I didn't. I don't. Who cares, bro? Like, look, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know, man. It's just fine. It's nothing special. But I thought we was finally going to get like Crazy Bayley is going to break loose this week. But not even that. We can't even get that. Just got a rip-roaring contest, and that's it. Roxanne Perez defeated Nikki Bella. It was basically 2-on-1. Obviously, Raquel Rodriguez is outside the ring. Nikki Bella, put a microphone in this woman's hand. You could send Kathy Kelly home or something like that. Maybe let Nikki Bella do some backstage interviews. I know she got to pay child support, but maybe we can lay off this wrestling thing. Stephanie Vaquer came out to help Nikki. Raquel Rodriguez backed up initially. Then she came back and squared up with Stephanie Vaquer. And Nikki Bella joined her, and Raquel towered over both of them. That was cute. But they're going in the right direction with Raquel and Stephanie. What did Nikki come back for? She came back to put the young girls over, I guess. That's fine, but Roxanne Perez is in an interesting situation where she's stuck in a dead-end stable, and it's a dead-end stable for everybody involved. And I didn't think that could actually exist. Even when it came to things like aces and eights, at least it was put together to get somebody over. I'm not sure who was supposed to get over on Judgment Day anymore. It seemed like a dead-end stable for every single person involved. Yes, it was a launching pad for Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, but only Rhea Ripley got bigger when she left. Dominic Mysterio he's going to be huge if he's ever allowed to fucking leave. He's not allowed to leave. He's still stuck doing this shit. Speaking of which, JD McDonough won a match. He won. He beat Sheamus. Unreal. Sheamus wanted a match with either Finn Balor or JD McDonough because of the shenanigans that they did in the Battle Royal last week. JD McDonough volunteered while saying that once he gets done with this Sheamus business, they want a tag team championship match, which Adam Pearce actually agreed to. So McDonough and Finn Balor basically worked together to beat Sheamus. Finn Balor hit Sheamus with the shillelagh. This match went on forever. It went on forever. My God. Sheesh. This match aged in dog years. Why was this match so fucking long? I don't care. I don't care. Dragon Lee and AJ Styles versus JD McDonough and Finn Balor next week. Fine. Whatever it takes. I really would prefer to get Judgment Day out of here and these guys just be a regular tag team, not Judgment Day tag team, I guess. Sheamus has declared war on Finn Balor on Twitter, so we'd have found another banger opponent for him to have 100 matches that don't matter with. Because that's Sheamus' gimmick, because he has match after match after match after match after match. And even if they're good quality matches, they don't mean anything. There's no consequences, there's no stakes, nothing matters. And that's what this match was. And these are my least favorite matches in wrestling. No consequences, no stakes, we just do shit. Sad. Sick, sad world. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. Raw was brutal, as usual. Not good. Not good at all. I mean, it is what it is. We're in a holding pattern, clearly, because WWE were not sure what to do without their golden goose, their MVP, Seth Rollins, according to Dave Meltzer. He was the MVP of the show. He didn't watch the show, apparently. Seth Rollins was one of the worst things about the damn show. So we can safely say that Meltzer was not watching the show. I will say this, though. On paper, Saturday night's main event looks like a banger. There's 4 matches on there. They all look pretty solid. Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. CM Punk versus Jey Uso in the Intercontinental Championship triple threat match. It looks like, like a lower level pay-per-view card. I gotta admit, it looks pretty good. And you got 3 world title matches on the show, which is more than you could say for, hell, most pay-per-views. So I can't be mad at this. Can't be mad. And then and a lot of it has storyline attached to it. We would prefer LA Knight to Jey Uso. Sure, we need some spice with Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. That this is, rotisserie chicken from Kroger kind of match. And yeah, a triple threat match sucks, but at least we like the 2 guys that are challenging Dominic, and we love Dominic. And yeah, we've seen Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill a whole bunch. But hopefully it's different now. And maybe they'll actually break the glass ceiling on Jade Cargill finally. So there's some stuff there that is worth getting, I don't want to say excited, but let's say up for. It's worth watching. It ought to be a very worthwhile show. Far more worthwhile than this show was. This show was dreadful, man. They brought the B team out for sure. Look, the only main event guys, the only top guys that really did anything was LA Knight and Bron Breakker. And you got to see CM Punk, but he's talking to another babyface, so there's only so much you can do in that direction. This show desperately needs some heat. This show desperately needs better storytelling, better writing. Definitely a stronger mid-card. More than just two guys at a time feuding with Dominic, and they need to end Judgment Day. There's a whole lot. We say the same thing every week for the most part. But the Women's World Championship has been an utter disaster. What they're doing with Stephanie Vaquer has been embarrassing. It's been utterly embarrassing. She barely is on TV at all. And she's now in a storyline with Raquel and Roxanne, who never win, but apparently they're going to start winning because they're going to beat up on Nikki Bella, I guess. It's fine, but these are not top-level main event talents. They're not. Because the top-level main event talents in the women's division of Raw are all, from... It's basically Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria. Well, Becky Lynch is doing the Intercontinental Championship thing. And, speaking of which, she's going to have to give Maxine Dupree another title shot. But Maxine Dupree gets to call her shot. She's got to tell Adam Pearce when she's ready for this match. Because she doesn't want to waste everybody's time. What are you talking about? You done wrestled this woman twice already without, the gap in time that you need to prepare. Why do you need to prepare now? What's different now? I don't know. Anyway, this is the Women's Intercontinental Championship, and it's Becky Lynch and, Maxine, and you got Bayley doing a thing with Lyra Valkyria. So you don't have any women for Stephanie Vaquer to work with who aren't decidedly mid-card. And I'm just talking unequivocally mid-card. Because the only solid main event act other than Becky is Bayley. And that's it. And they're both... And Bayley lost 100 times to Becky and, lost 100 times to Lyra. And now is losing in tag team matches. She doesn't really have that much value to challenge Stephanie Vaquer. And Asuka, she's in a tag team. And Rhea Ripley is basically, I guess you could say, in a tag team. And Stephanie Vaquer has beaten Io already. So there's that. The Women's World Champion is kind of stuck in the middle. She's being treated a lot like Ron Simmons when he was the world champion. She's getting treated like Kofi Kingston. Like when he was the world champion. I don't know, man. It actually is worse because those guys at least had storylines where they were, important to the story, and storylines that were crafted around their individual story. I'll actually say I really did like the Dolph Ziggler Kofi Kingston story because it was crafted around the two characters involved. The matches were kind of mid. They were kind of the same as when they were the Intercontinental champions fighting each other. But they didn't elevate their game. But the story was solid. When you look at the story here, it's nothing special. Stephanie Vaquer just has the title. And for some reason, she's buddies with Nikki Bella. You paved the way for me, I guess. What the fuck? What the fuck? I guess. And Becky didn't show up on TV this week, so there's that. Fun for everybody. Fun for Dick and Jane. It's hard to say what's needed on Raw outside of a whole new creative team and a whole new vision for the show. There's people saying you need to do something where there's no winner on Saturday, so the world title can stay in abeyance. I don't think you do that. I think you just gotta bite the bullet and do what you think is best. Initially, I thought CM Punk is just going to get the belt. Then I thought they're going to thumb everybody in the eye and Jey Uso is going to get it. And at this point, bro, I don't think it matters. It don't matter. We know where it should be. It should be either with Bronson Reed or Brian Breaker. And it's not. And there was a stupid story that came out and said that, oh, they didn't want these guys to get babyface pops because they beat up Seth Rollins. I don't think the company gives a fuck. This is the same company that exposes their creative process. They don't care about what the reaction is. Come on. You gotta think about these things for a second. They're not going to care about that. They're just lazy. And they just don't want to take risks. It's literally that simple. WWE has gotten way too conservative. They got to loosen up. Take some risks. You know? Let some of these young guys run. Let a guy like Dominic Mysterio, let him control the show a little bit. Let him be the focal point. There should be more opponents for him. Not the same two guys for 4 fucking months. But that's me rambling. Let me know what you guys thought. I know you didn't watch the show, but you watched the highlights. But tell me what you thought of the highlights that you watched. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out. Be blessed.
Yeah. We're just gonna